Hey guys, with Dragon Ball Legends' second anniversary now live, the game is receiving a ton of new and returning players. Jumping into PvP without much experience can be daunting if you're a new player, so in this video, I will be going over some basic techniques that you can use in order to improve your gameplay and give you a jump start in PvP. Now before we get into things, I think it's important to note that even though Dragon Ball Legends is a mobile game that you control by utilizing a touchscreen, this game does still take practice to get better. As of this recording, there is no training mode in the game, but you can practice a lot of the techniques I'm going to show you in this video via the try feature within the summon screen, as this sets you up with an AI opponent who is essentially a target dummy, as they sit there and let you wail on them for 90 timer counts. Finally, this guide is meant for beginners, who are either just getting into the game for the first time or have very minimal experience in PvP. So if you are someone who has been playing the game for a long time, this might not be the most informative video for you, but I appreciate your support nonetheless. I want to give a shout out to Palmzor for helping me to record all of the gameplay you are going to see here, so definitely check out his channel in the description below. Without further ado, let's get into it. Out of all the techniques I'm going to demonstrate in this video, sidestepping will undoubtedly have the most profound impact on your performance. The idea behind this technique is to perform sidestepping actions in between each arts card so that you can maximize the amount of ki you are accumulating, as well as to extend the combo for as long as possible. Extending combos is a very powerful thing to do in Dragon Ball Legends, as doing so allows you to buy time for your standby characters to switch back in, and gives you an opportunity to draw additional cards so that you can continue comboing your opponent. There are multiple ways you can sidestep to extend your combos. The first way is simply to sidestep to the right or left after connecting an attack, as you can see here. The second way is to first swipe up after connecting an attack, and then quickly swipe to the right or left before selecting your next arts card. Personally, I would recommend this method because being so close to the enemy before attacking them leaves them with a minimal amount of time to react to what you're doing. Sidestepping is a fundamental technique that you can practice anywhere in the game. For beginners, you might find yourself dropping your combos when first starting to learn how to do this, but that's natural. You'll get better as time goes on. Creating space is a very important aspect when it comes to effectively countering your opponent's moves. There are two main ways you can retreat to long range during battle: the backdash and the backfloat. Here's an example of what a backdash looks like. Backdashes allow you to retreat to long range very quickly, but leave you open if your enemy decides to attack you while doing so. Here I am trying to vanish my opponent's attacks while backdashing, but I am unable to do so. In order to perform a backdash, simply swipe your finger down very quickly. Here we have an example of backfloating. Backfloating has a huge advantage over backdashing in that with this technique, even though it takes your character longer to reach long range when compared to backdashing, backfloating allows you to vanish your opponent's attacks at any point and doesn't leave you exposed. I recommend utilizing this technique over backdashing when you feel the need to retreat to long range. In order to perform a backfloat, slowly drag your finger down on your touchscreen. A lot of times, new or inexperienced players tend to repeatedly sidestep in the hopes that they will vanish their opponent's attacks. This may work if you're matched up against an opponent who doesn't know how to counter this, but it is actually quite easy to take advantage of movements as predictable as this. One way you can get punished by doing this is if the enemy times their special move or certain special skill cards while you're in the middle of your sidestep animation. This creates a window of opportunity for your opponent where you are unable to vanish their attacks, resulting in them being able to land a free hit on you. My advice surrounding this is to simply get used to not constantly sidestepping. You want to minimize the amount of opportunities you are giving to your opponent so that you can let them make mistakes instead of you. Additionally, if you see that your opponent is doing this, you can try taking advantage of this yourself with a well-timed special move card. This is another habit that I see a lot of newer players falling into, which is essentially being quote-unquote trigger happy with how they queue up their combos. If you use an arts card and end up not connecting with your opponent, any subsequently tapped arts cards will have their animations play out, leaving you open for your opponent to easily start a combo on you. You should only be tapping subsequent arts cards once you have confirmed that the initial attack has landed on the enemy, ensuring that your character can continue the combo safely without leaving you open to be counterattacked. Chaining combos while switching characters in and out, while seeming trivial, can actually be rather tricky to pull off. The window in which the game lets you select your arts card after switching while still being able to chain the combo is rather small, so timing is extremely important. If you switch your character out and want to continue the combo, I recommend rapidly tapping the arts card that you want to chain until your switched in character begins performing the action. This should ensure that your combo remains chained. An easy way to keep a combo going while switching characters is to quickly approach your enemy immediately following an arts card. This leaves you with a slightly bigger window to chain together your next arts card. The last technique that we are going to be discussing is slightly more difficult than the other ones we have talked about up until now, as it requires relatively precise timing and can leave you exposed if done incorrectly. There isn't really a name for this maneuver, but it essentially entails you charging up your ki for a few seconds prior to launching a beam-based special move. What this does is it allows you to squeeze in a little bit of extra ki restoration, which can mean the difference between being able to launch a special move after an arts card or not. Out of all of the techniques we talked about, I definitely recommend practicing this one before jumping into PvP, as if you accidentally charge for too long, your opponent will easily be able to vanish your special move and start a combo of their own on you. The last thing I want to briefly discuss before we wrap this video up is a rough overview of team building and how you can best orient your team to stand the best chance in PvP. Ever since this game released over 2 years ago, the meta has more or less revolved around the shiny new units that are available on whatever banner is most recent. This being the 2-year anniversary, you're more likely now than ever before to run into at least one, if not multiple, of the new units every single battle, as people want to play with their shiny new toys as expected. This adds a degree of predictability to what you can expect to see as you try and climb the PvP ladder. So you can take advantage of that in your team building to give yourself an advantage before the battle even begins. Let's look at the currently available anniversary banners. This one features characters from the climax of the Future Trunks saga of Dragon Ball Super in Super Saiyan Rage Trunks and Fusion Zamasu, along with Vegito Blue. This banner down here features characters from near the end of Dragon Ball GT in Omega Shenron and Full Power Super Saiyan 4 Goku with Vegito Blue once again. In my experience, most people have been bringing Vegito Blue into battle, as he is currently the undisputed best character in the entire game. From a strategic perspective, it would then be smart to try and counteract that plan by bringing green units, since Vegito Blue is blue, which would give you type advantage. Keep in mind that while Vegito Blue, at least in my experience, has been the driving force behind the current PvP meta, there are still 4 other new sparking units that are fairly common to run into as well. Keeping in mind that the current state of the meta will more likely than not revolve around the newest units in the game can help you prepare better before jumping into PvP and give you an advantage before even jumping into the fight itself. So those were the 6 different tips and techniques that I had for beginners/inexperienced players in Dragon Ball Legends. There is obviously a wide variety of additional techniques that you can utilize, and many of them I did not mention in this video, simply because I felt that these were specifically the most essential to get your play up to snuff. Let me know down below of any questions you guys might have on anything discussed in this video, or simply any questions you have about the game in general. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will see you all in the next one.